Boom. Hello there, everybody, and welcome to the Entertainment Headquarters, and welcome to a very special Into the Darkness creature feature. And to joining me today to talk about 4 particular movies, joining me is Mr. DJ Anubis from the Metal Tavern Radio podcast and YouTube channel, and of course we also have Mr. Tony of the Dead.
Hello.
So, yes. Hello and welcome. So, we've been planning this one for a while. Me and Anubis were talking a while ago about doing something different, trying to do some kind of specials, horror specials, especially the fact we're in September now and we're heading towards October, which we all know is Halloween. So, we thought about why not do some creature feature specials? And so we're going to be taking a look at 4 particular films that involve spiders. So I have kind of a little bit of a fear of spiders, but not, nothing that's going to, stop us from, things like I'm not frightened of having a bath. Stuff like that. I'm not frightened if one comes out the plug, stuff like that. I'm more or less frightened if I see a giant spider. Like I was once in a hotel and I was in on the island of Mallorca, and I went into the bathroom and there was a spider probably the size of my hand, which I nearly shit my pants at, and it literally crawled down the wall and went through the window, and I never opened that window again for the entire holiday. So tiny, eeny, weeny spiders don't do it for me. It's like the giant spiders that really get to me. So do you have any experience with spiders, Mr. Tony of the Dead?
I mean, I have the woods behind my house. My old house, I had the woods. I'm used to spiders, mostly we just kind of get, once in a while you'll see a wolf spider, but it's mostly like small ones, little spiders, but a lot of daddy long legs out here. Every time in my old house, when I was in the bathroom, there'd be like always one watching me. So, but they don't bother me.
It's just Charlotte.
Yeah.
So, and of course, Mr. DJ Anubis, we know that you are you told me a very interesting story when we did a Into the Darkness special on phobias, where you actually have like arachnophobia, but kind of to help you with your fear is you actually have an awesome collection of tarantulas and species of spiders.
Yeah, so obviously spiders are creepy, and I remember back in the '90s when I was doing recreational drugs. I was on acid one time, and so I was over at my friend's house, and I went to he called me into the bathroom. I'm like, well, what's going on? He's like, check it out. So on the sink area, like there was a big wolf spider, but it was kind of lanky. It wasn't like your full like macho looking one. It was very thin, almost like a huntsman. And so I'm looking, I'm like, dude, that's fake. And I poked it and it started flopping around and running. Scared the fucking shit out of me. I'm like tripping my ass off. I'm like, holy fuck, it's gonna eat me. Get me out of here. And shit like that. But I've always had like a fascination with them though, because they're very interesting creatures. It was kind of funny the other day. Someone made a comment that, you know what? Oh, because I'm part of a tarantula group. And so they said, yeah, spider webs are so strong that we need to like start utilizing that and making spiders bigger and using their webs. Like, you understand, the bigger you make them, the more hungry they're going to be. And they're just going to start looking at us as food. Like, that's just their nature. You don't want to do that. And these movies tell you a reason why you don't want to do that.
Especially in Sting.
Yeah. But
well, they're like the natural predators, really, spiders. So
right. So I mean, I ended up starting my hobby again with tarantula keeping, and I've learned a little more about how to take care of them and stuff. And they're all very unique, and some are more deadly, even though they won't kill you, but they do possess venom. So like you have to be careful. So it's just a matter of learning respect for them as well. Like, it's even if you go in the ocean, respect for sharks. You don't go start playing with their tails and shit because it's
well, that's like anything in nature, respect it or it'll come back at you. Like,
right. So I can say that it's helped my arachnophobia a little bit, that I've been able to take care of them and observe them. I don't handle them. I could, but I just choose not to, because they have no emotions. It's not like they're not like regular pets. Sure, they can go through the habit of maybe walking on your hand or something, but they're unpredictable. You cannot say for 100% certainty that they won't bite you, even if they're poisonous or non-poisonous. Because some of the ones that I have are New World are still large, and their fangs are nothing to joke about. Like, they bite you, it's going to fucking hurt. So, I just don't mess with them that way. And even some of the best spider keepers that are out there that I watch and learn from, they tell you that they're just not meant to be handled.
What's more dangerous, New World or Old World? Is there a difference?
Well, New World, it's funny because New World, they're the ones with the more potent venom. They don't kick hairs at you, but they have potent venom. So even though it won't generally kill you, it will make you very sick. It can really fuck you up for a few days. Now, Old World, you would, these are the ones that are usually docile and you can kind of handle them. But the thing about them is they kick hairs as a defense mechanism. And I used to think it wasn't such a big deal. Like, oh, okay, they're just going to flick hairs, like, whatever. But the hairs are like little tiny barbs. And so I learned a lesson with my male Brazilian black, that he got some hairs on my skin, and so it's very itchy. And so like I didn't wash my hands right away, so I started scratching and it started spreading. I itched for like a month, and that's just like the down part of it. Like, the really scary part is if you get it in your eyes, you probably have to go
getting it in the eye would.
So that's why a lot of times you're wearing glasses or goggles when trying to deal with these things, because like if they start kicking at you and it gets in your eyes, you're gonna have to go get surgery and shit. Like, that's just no joke. But overall, man, they're very cool things to look at. Again, just a matter of respect and how you treat them, and that's basically it with that.
Sounds fun.
Yeah.
Well, with that said, let's crack on and talk about the first of the 4 movies that have been selected today, and we'll start off with this one. It is, of course, Spider in the Attic. Which,
I just noticed the tagline.
Itsy Bitsy.
Yeah. I got news for you though. It's not as good as Itsy Bitsy.
I would definitely have to agree. So let's take a look at this. So I don't really have much information on this because it's not on Wikipedia or anything. I found it on IMDb, and there's probably a reason it's not on Wikipedia. No one can be asked to write up the information because, quite frankly, it's one of the most boring films I've ever watched in my life.
So I saw one dude with a review is like 7 out of 10. I'm like, I don't know how you got that high, dude. Really don't.
So here we go. Here's the plot synopsis. A deadly nest of spiders lurks in the attic, and the nest is about to be awoken by a news reporter and her colleagues. Directed by Shannon Holliday, Scott Chambers, written by Scott Chambers, and it stars Nicola Wright, Chelsea Greenwood, Sarah Alexander Mark, Clint Gordon, Kate Sanderson, Danielle Scott, and Chris Cordell. And, it's quite the plot, actually an interesting plot. I will give that credit. I thought it's the plot starts off very strongly, where basically you have this I guess scientist whose work's being scoffed at, and I guess he's no longer getting the funding to continue his research, which is, he's trying to work with spiders and he's trying to find out a way to basically, I guess, harmonize them to use as weapons. And this is the actor that plays George, who is the he is the scientist who meets right at the beginning of the movie, meets a grisly end by the CGI spider. And obviously involving this scientific research is also, it's also wrapped up with the Nazis as well, because the Nazis are also trying to grow spiders, and it's a mixture of his research with the research he got from the Nazis to experiment on these spiders. They're basically turning them into weapons. So he is the original guy who basically doing the research. The main cast member is Nicola Wright, who plays Linda, the reporter. So this is Linda. And then after that, it's just our work colleagues. Like, you have this lady who is Danielle Scott, who plays Lorena. And then you have the boss of the news station or the radio station, who is Kate Sanderson, who plays Sam. And then you have our 2 annoying daughters, who you have. The cast are hot. You can't give it that. The cast is hot. So this is Sarah Alexander Marks, who plays the daughter Lucy, and then you have Chelsea Greenwood, who plays the other daughter, who is Belle, which I do not have a picture of.
Yeah, I think Sarah's going to be in the new vampire flick Bogeyville, which I did a trailer reaction for. So,
all right, she's in a lot of these like low budget independent horror movies, I've noticed. Oh wait, there I do. There is a picture of Chelsea Greenwood, who plays Belle, and then you obviously have the boyfriend who, he meets in his end. So as the plot, like I say, there's not much to the plot. Linda, the mother, her basically her career's on the way out. She's going to get cancelled, that show, because the ratings have dropped. And she's like a true crime detective, like reporter. So she's trying to find a way to keep her career alive. So she basically, she gets information about the character George, who's like some scientist who's been working on this Nazi experiment. And obviously the other person who works, I guess, who's like just the researcher underneath the who underneath the boss there. So this is Linda, who's the reporter. This is our boss. So the boss wants to cancel her out, but then the researcher decides basically, guess what? I think it's a great idea. She's got a lead on a story about Nazis and experiments and all this. So they decide to go to this mansion in the middle of Kent, which when they arrive, there's cobwebs everywhere, there's spider webs, it's abandoned, there's food being left on the table uneaten. And that's when the fun starts, where they start looking into, and searching around and investigating the events that have transpired at this manor. So, DJ Anubis, what did you think?
So again, you're right. I mean, the concept is kind of interesting. I mean, the Nazis are always up to crazy shit anyway, going back to Hellboy and everything else.
Yeah.
But this thing, I know that when it comes to horror films, because Tony knows it, you know it, you kind of have to suspend disbelief about how dumb people can be in a film. But at sometimes it's just a little bit too dumb. Like someone made a good point in a review that like, if I go into a house, man, and it doesn't matter what my purpose is there, but if I see like a house full of fucking webs and shit, I'm not staying at that house. It's just not happening. And it's like everywhere. It's like, does that not raise any alarms to anybody?
Yeah.
I don't care if they're expecting big spiders or not, but that's something I'm just not willing to deal with. But anyway, it has pacing issues. Like for one, obviously, the woman that plays the reporter, I think, or the one that's trying to keep her show going, her podcast,
Linda, the character Linda.
Yeah, she basically is an asshole. Like everyone's like ready to go and say, this is dumb. Let's get out of here. She's like, no, we're good. I gotta get this show done. But again, we're dealing with CGI spiders here, and I don't know. It's your run of the mill type of. Yeah, this is what we got going on here, which that's
for me though. They are creepy, but they don't look like spiders. And if you notice the noise that they make, it's like hissing of a snake. Doesn't sound like arachnid to me. It sounds like a snake hissing.
Yeah, well, and I think that's part of the thing, because they're assuming that the experiments have somehow mutated these things beyond where they are. So this kind of reminded me a little bit of a cross between, did you ever see The Mist?
Yes.
Some of the spiders and shit that was in there, the really weird creatures. So that kind of reminded me a little bit of that, but not near as good in terms of acting or storyline. So that's a problem there. But the pacing was a bit of an issue because it was kind of plodding along, and then at times they were focusing too much on, I think, one of the daughters or the relationship with
because there was a subplot. So there was a subplot, wasn't there? So the main plot is basically the people from the TV studio and the reporter trying to keep a career online, who's so desperate and just doing dumb shit because she wants to get all this evidence to make this great kind of new show. And then the subplot is with the two daughters. One's just came out of the army. The other one is pregnant to the boyfriend, and the boyfriend shows up. And, I was hoping for a great death scene, or a great, kind of seeing like shit go down with any of the spiders, even if the CGI. But even that wasn't great. So the boyfriend meets his end. He gets wrapped up in spider webs by the CGI fucking spider. But I was hoping you would see like a spider burst out of his chest or something. At least the most satisfying kill is near, halfway through point, after you see the slow build up, is with the boss of the TV station, where she lifts the hood of her car and as a spider jumps out and fucking basically blinds her in the eyes, which was good. I did like that part. I like the effect, how it was showing you from her point of view where her sight was blurred, and then you're seeing the CGI spider on the bonnet of the car that leapt on her face. But outside of that, like you said, the pacing issues is terrible. the story is interesting. I actually enjoyed the bits where they were listening to the tapes from the scientist, where he actually talks about how they experiment on spiders and they're using what they believe could actually be extraterrestrial DNA or something. So I can get why the spiders aren't 100% looking like or ordinary spiders. So all of that makes for great build up, but then there's no real payoff by the film's end.
Right.
So what's your thought, Tony?
Movie's very forgettable. I watched this one second. I watched Itsy Bitsy first because I've been seeing that, you know, to be able to stream in that for a while, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna watch that first because I want to watch that the most, and then I watched this one, and I forgot like pretty much everything. I'm like learning this all again. I forgot there was another daughter. I had to look. I'm like, which spider one is this? And then I saw, oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about the scientist, but it was all coming back after I saw some pictures. I was like, oh okay. And you said it, but I was gonna say, well, I thought they like said something about alien DNA in there. That's why it looks like it does, because it's like a mixture of all different, and isn't it like a bunch of different like type of animals or something like?
Yeah, so like
Like it
even
looks
the
like
back,
he looks like a bat, like
yeah,
a scorpion body a little
yeah,
bit.
yeah. Well, yeah, it's got like it's got like the face and the head of a spider. It's got like, I guess it's got spider-like legs, but then
Yeah.
at the back, it's like, obviously when you think of the back of a spider, it has like a massive back body.
Yeah.
And this didn't, it had like a long, slender body, and for me, it looked like something like a wasp.
Yeah.
With a stinger at the end.
Yeah. I kind of took it as a scorpionish like thing, but I mean, all CGI. Yeah, it was, but some parts were okay. All in all, the spider, like for CGI, it was a cool looking spider, but the CGI, what do you want? The cover alone, you could tell what kind of movie it's gonna be. It's not it was a decent story, but like I didn't like anybody in this. I didn't care who died or whatever, but I was hoping really for the boss. Like I wanted her death. The pacing sucked.
It ends on a very unforgettable cliffhanger. So I remember at the beginning when you're listening to the videotape, like the audio tape, that he says that there was an experimental spider and it kept growing and growing till it was the size of a small dog, and then basically it must have got so big it couldn't have been contained, and then you just kept seeing all these little spiderlings like around the manor and doing all that, and then it's right at the end where the daughter who's pregnant, whose water's broke, she's getting put into the back of the car, and you hear that doesn't like not like the snake noises. You hear like a proper growling roar, and the next thing you know, you turn around and you look behind, and there's that giant spider-like creature, which would have been awesome if they were introduced halfway through and there was them trying to escape across a field on a tractor or something, at least entertaining. But then it ends where they've revealed the giant spider creature, and then next thing you know, the credits have rolled.
Yeah.
So if they were expecting the end on a cliffhanger to potentially do a sequel, they've clearly missed the mark, because
I didn't enjoy it. Let's just say that it was definitely probably my least favorite of the four.
That's definitely why I made sure we covered this one first.
Right.
So out of 10, if I had to give this a rating out of 10, it's gonna be the same as what I rated The Crow. It's getting 3 out of 10. Because there's literally nothing interesting about it except the beginning and the plot, that how it begins, and it's basically a declines after that. So that's my opinion anyway.
And that Judy the main actress, like she was annoying as hell.
Yes.
Like I could see why they wanted to fire her. Like I just couldn't stand her.
Yeah,
And
just
the daughter was hot, but I couldn't stand hearing her talk.
Yes. Them annoying British accents.
No. It was like too high pitched, like even more than
Yeah.
yours.
Oh, that's a hard one to beat, like, but yeah. But
Like she's acting no, whole time. And it's like, shut the fuck up. Your mom's an asshole.
very true. So I think we all agree that this just wasn't a great movie and it's very forgettable.
very.
So
Yeah.
let's move on to the next pick, which is the one Tony is mentioned, which he was very excited to watch. Let's move on to Itsy Bitsy. Always check under the bed is the tagline.
That's a cool cover too.
It is that it is. So let's have a look at Itsy Bitsy. Itsy Bitsy is a 2019 American horror film directed by Mika Gallo, starring Bruce Davison, Elizabeth Roberts, Armin Darbo, and Chloe Perrin, and featuring Denise Crosby, Elaine Dietz, and Matty Cardiff Ropel. It centers on a family who moves into an old secluded mansion where they are stalked by an ancient entity that takes the form of a giant spider. The film itself was inspired by the poem The Itsy Bitsy Spider and was released in the United States on August the 30th, 2019 by Shout Studios, and it has received mixed reviews from critics. So, who would like to start this one off? What did you think, Mr. Tony of the Dead?
I thought this one was obviously better than the other one that we just talked about, but again, this is like a family I can't stand. Like kids in horror movies, man, it's like not everybody's gonna be Bobby and Carol Ann, nobody's gonna care about them, They like the little girl. I thought she was terrible. I'm sorry, little girl. I'm sure you're not gonna watch this, but like I don't know. She's just like she was too unbelievable. The son, he's like depressed and everything, but like,
See, I disagree. I actually enjoyed the son. I thought the actor who played the son was quite believable, and I loved.
Yeah, but I didn't like him. I believed he was an asshole.
Well, I like the fact, like, so basically, there was another child that must have died, and she's getting over her grief, and she's addicted to painkillers after a horrendous car accident where she must have lost the third child.
Yeah, they were in a car accident, and the baby was in the back.
Yes, and that's traumatic and sad. And she's addicted to painkiller. She lost her job as a nurse in New York. She's desperate, to support herself, to support the kids. So she gets a job, basically at this man at the look after Walter, who is he's a collector of ancient antiques, and so obviously, when that happens, obviously she takes the job because she's desperate. So she moves the kids closer to where they are. And he has this artifact, which at the beginning of the movie, you had this amazing sequence where you had these people praying and, putting together this ceremony, which she or he looks fucking terrifying on that picture.
Yeah.
They're praying to this god and they have this artifact. And obviously Bruce has it in his possession now, this ancient artifact. Of course, you have the main cast, you have, is that the right one? So that's the son.
That's the son, yeah.
Yeah, that's the son. Who's this one? He is, I guess, one of the tribes people who, Bruce married his sister, I believe. And obviously brought that over to America alongside this artifact. You have I loved her in this. Denise Crosby, who played, Lieutenant Yaw in Star Trek: The Next Generation.
She's also in Pet Cemetery as well.
Yeah, she's in Pet Cemetery.
Hmm.
So I'm sure I had one of them other somewhere. I'm sure I'll fucking
I don't even
find.
remember what the mother looked like.
Yeah, but there's a one of
Oh,
them.
yeah. Well, she's in that picture with the three of them that you showed in the beginning.
The one at the beginning.
Yeah, where they show up. I think you said. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Oh,
No, not that one. I
you
think
mean this
I
one?
was watching I was looking at the video while you were describing it, and I think I'm thinking of the video.
All right. Well, that's the mother there. That's the mother on the poster.
but it's not the mother.
But she's shitting her pants there. This
Shitting.
fucking spider.
Yeah,
I
would too.
So obviously they move into this mansion. There is an argument between Walter and I guess his brother-in-law, who's a member of this tribe. They're arguing over the artifact which he has in his possession.
Well, didn't he steal it from the tribe?
He steals it from the tribe, but he stole it from the tribe, and he also, I guess, when he stole it from the tribe, he also, I guess, took his sister and brought her to America. And then obviously they were married for so many years, and obviously the brother who must have went with them, and I guess he feels a lot of guilt about what they've done, and that saying, you need to, do like a sacrifice, or to, you need to give something to the god, or the god's gonna come after you. Yeah. And as they argue, he had the artifact in his hand. The brother, after the family have moved in and are getting settled, he has the artifact in his hand, and he drops the artifact. And he drops the artifact that you can see is in his hand. After he drops it, there's like a giant web sack inside the middle of the altar, which begins to hatch. Mm-hmm. And then that's when you first get the reveal of the spider.
Yeah.
Which I think the spider is very believable. I like how you've got the legs that are see-through,
Yeah.
It felt more realistic, and obviously it's puppetry. The spider for the majority of this was done puppetry-wise.
It's one of the biggest pluses about it is its practical effects. I mean, I love that idea.
Yeah, there is, I think, some CGI where you see it crawl across a wall.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's some, but it's not bad.
Mm-hmm.
No.
But as obviously the brother-in-law gets bitten, and he crashes his car and dies. And after that, there's no more suspicion that something's going on or there's a spider. But then as the film progresses, you see the cat get killed by the fucking spider. Which
I didn't see the cat get killed. I fast forward 30 seconds, so I didn't see that.
Oh, well, there's a scene where you see the cat, and the cat.
That's a funny thing too. Is I'm trying to think of in Sting. I think they had some shit like that too.
Fast forward that too.
It's always a cat that gets fucked over. What?
Always the fucking cat that gets.
Always a little animal, like.
Well, I don't care as a little animal, but you're always fucking with the cat. Leave the cat.
No, I'm talking about anything.
All I'm gonna say, Anubis,
little dogs,
Yeah. All I'm gonna say, Anubis, watch if you get the chance. Please watch. It's what's it called? A Quiet Place D1. The cat is the star of that movie.
Good.
You will. Finally, a fucking cat took the lead, and the cat's the support animal in the movie, and every time the aliens were on screen and you're seeing the cat walking about, because obviously if you've seen the first two movies, the whole point is you're not allowed to make a sound. Well, every time the cat walks or does something when the humans are hiding, the first thing you think, oh, fuck, the cat's going to get totally chomped up, yeah. And every time there was a scene with a cat, that's the first thing. You're just waiting.
And everybody else, I'm whoops.
You're
drops like a glass.
You're basically sitting there waiting for the moment for the cat to get killed. But I'm not going to spoil it. But please watch that if you get a chance, because I rated that and really enjoyed it. But going back to this, the cat gets killed. There's cobwebs, but then I loved how they built the spider up. I think it is like a slow pace, but there is a payoff at the end. They slowly built up the spider where you were seeing scenes of the spider basically with its back body and it starting every time it, I guess, evolved or grew. You got a scene where it was breaking out of its shell, out of its its body. And like you say, this particular scene that I showed you is near where they go up into the attic and they see the spider basically surrounded by cobwebs, and it's huge. And they're basically creeping around not to awaken, but then it's finally revealed that this isn't the actual spider. It's the old shell of the spider, and it's actually grew even more, which I thought was a great twist.
Yeah.
That you seen. And then obviously this scene really freaked us out. Anything like this freaks me out, where you're seeing the spider under the bed.
Yeah.
Like I kept closing my eyes just waiting for it to jump out at the little girl. But I like the dynamics of the characters. Like, I know you found the son annoying, but I thought he was a really good. He did some really great acting in this, and I loved the conversation where basically he was telling the mother, "I'm basically a child. You're basically the mother. You're meant to be looking after me and my sister. I've been looking after my sister all this time. It's time, basically." It was like basically him saying it's time for you to take responsibility and be a fucking mother, because obviously our addiction was now starting to get out of control. Yeah. And, I love the fact that throughout the plot, you're seeing her, stealing pills and stuff like that, and things starting to basically get on top of her. And I loved the scenes as well when someone got bitten by the spider. When you looked at the eyes, it showed you had a couple of shots where there were bloodshotted eyes.
Yeah.
And when the mother got bitten, when she was protecting the kids, and she got her eyes were all bloodshot, and you thought she was going to meet her end. But overall, it was slow paced. It was a strong start. Then I thought it slowed down, but by film's end, I really think it picked itself up, and I really enjoyed the majority of the movie. So, JJ Anubis, your thoughts on Itsy Bitsy?
Yeah, I mean, again, I really liked the one thing that I liked the most about was the practical effects. They didn't rely too heavily on CGI, which anytime you can go back and, we talk about all the time with stuff like The Thing or Howling or American Wolf in London, like just the practical effects that they were used back then. I know it's a lot cheaper now to do CGI, but the problem is if you're not doing it well, then it looks stupid as fuck. Like the last film, like I get it. You can only work with what you got, but like you can tell the difference in presentation. And the story, I really liked the idea where the origin story of the spider comes from. I think that was unique, fun thing to use. And as far as the rest of the family story, it's kind of your normal thing, which I think you could argue Sting was kind of copying to some degree, just with the family dynamics and stuff. But usually that's the way they go. There's even with like arachnophobia, they all kind of like a similar family theme all the time. But I thought it was cool. I don't have any problems with this film. It's not the best out of the group that we have, but it's better than the last one. Like if I give Spider in the Attic 3, I'd give this like a 7. It's fair to say.
Yeah, I'll probably give it a 6.
Yeah,
I'd probably give Spider in the Attic like a 2. And this one I'd probably give a 5.
I was being generous with my 3. I could have given it a 0, but I was being generous.
And also another massive difference with this and Spider in the Attic, the acting in Spider in the Attic is very much horrendous. Where at least in this one, even the kid actor, which I think him, the mother, and Denise Crosby were the strongest actors in this. They were very believable. I believed in the relationship.
David and Crosby are like seasoned actors, so that's expected here.
Yeah. So, like the relationship, I believed in the acting. I believed in the relationship between the mother and the son. And I think he played a very strong part in this, and I really enjoyed the dynamic. So the acting with all the cast, even the son, was believable. The daughter, though, like you say, she was annoying, but you know, you're all going to get that with the little girl actress, I suppose, and if that's what she's meant to be in it, she pulled it off.
I just didn't believe her. You know what I mean? Like I could tell she was acting, if that makes any sense. Like I didn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't pull me out of like my space, and like I'm believing what I'm seeing. That part though, what you said with the son, where he like said like I've been the one feeding her and putting her in her bed and all that. That part was good. I will say that.
Very believable.
I think he was just too emo, too emo for me. And the little girl was like she screamed in his face the one part, and like it like I don't know. You know,
Well,
but yeah,
right.
but yeah, the spider looked cool. Cool effects.
Yeah, I thought the spider looked great in this. I did.
Honestly, though, I was thinking this movie was going to be better than it was, because I heard good things. So I guess I was a little hyped.
Yeah, well, it's not the best of the movies, but it's far more better than Spider in the Attic, which basically I'll probably never watch again.
No.
No. If this was on the telly, I'd probably give it a watch if it just was scrolled on my screen. But now we're going on to the two biggies. Now, when I first heard, I think I was the one that told you about the next one, which was called Vermins in France. So Vermins in France, it was called. It's a French language film. This is basically, for me, I haven't really enjoyed a spider movie in a long time, since probably the original Arachnophobia. There hasn't been one that stood out except like the really over the top ones. Like you get all the Sci-Fi Channel giant ones, like Volcano Arachnid and all that crap.
Lavalantula.
Lavalantula or the Ace Spider, stuff like that. Yeah. But when it comes to more realistic, like grounded, nitty gritty, really like creepy and really makes you uncomfortable type spider movie. We haven't had one since Arachnophobia. And I seen the trailer for this a while back, and I sent it to Anubis. I said, well, definitely need to check this out at some point. And obviously, when it was brought over to the good old USA on Shudder, it was renamed to Infested. Now, even the poster is freaking me out because and this for me is probably the best film since, when it comes to more realistic spider films, since Arachnophobia, because I don't even think we've had any, to my knowledge, that are not like about giant mutated spiders or anything like that. That are basically just about poisonous spiders on the rampage. I know we had, that one with William Shatner that came out many years ago. Yeah. And then you had that one that we looked at, Anubis, on the cinematic
Tavern was a deadly cargo.
Yeah, they're like grounded, realistic, based on real spiders that are poisonous running around rapid. Now, this for me is the closest thing to those kind of movies. So let's take a look at Infested. So Infested is a 2023 French horror film conceived, co-written, and directed by Sébastien Vanqui. In his feature directorial debut, its original French title is Vermins, which is literally vermin in English. The film stars Theo Christian as a 20-something Balaloo resident who takes home a lethal desert spider that reproduces rapidly and causes a massive infestation in the neighborhood. Sophia Lesafi, Jerome Nail, Lisa Kayaroko, and Finnegan Oldfield are featured in supporting roles. So a lot of names there. If I've butchered them, I do apologize, but I am shit at doing the names. But this film itself, it won a lot of praise and a lot of awards back home in France and at different film festivals. And then obviously I think it's had good reviews and has been looked at fondly everywhere else as well. But obviously the start of this movie, it really starts with a bang. You see, in the desert, you see people, and they're basically looking for poisonous spiders. And there's that great scene where they're in the desert and they come across some rock face. And they basically one of the smugglers takes a rock off the ground, and he sees a giant hole with cobweb spider eggs around. Next thing I know, a spider, he's poking around in it. He puts like some sort of smoke bomb in it. And next thing he's attacked by this spider, which crawls around his body. It does give me vibes of how arachnophobia started in the desert, the jungle. And then basically there's just a swarm of these deadly spiders come running out of this hole, and they start basically box them up in these plastic containers. Then fast forward, obviously one of the smugglers has died. They end up going to France somehow. And one of the deadly spiders in the plastic container, he gets taken by the lead character, who is
Caleb, I think.
Caleb, yes, Caleb. And basically he decides to put it in a shoebox in his bedroom.
Yeah.
Out of all the places you could keep a spider, you decide to put the fucker in a shoebox. And I think he's like connected to shoplifters and all this, because he kind of gets, very expensive, trainers and valuable shoe, and he sells them. That's basically how he makes his money. He's like a quick dealer kind of person. Mm-hmm. And of course he has best friends, and there's like dynamics among the friends, and eventually the spider gets loose, and once it gets loose, it kills his best friend, who he has the shoebox, and the spider's hiding in the shoebox after it initially escaped. And his friend opened the shoebox, the spider's in the shoe, he bites him on the foot with his dog around him, and the next thing you know, he's been poisoned and he's slowly dying, and he dies. And they then find inside the shoebox a sack, which they know is a spider sack. So they then wrap it around in duct tape, keep it hidden in the bedroom. And next thing you know, things start to go awry, and soon the spiders are out and they start to multiply. So in this tower block. So thoughts, Mr. Tony of the Dead?
This one though, this movie was creepy, and these are the kind of spiders that I don't want to find. Like I could see a tarantula, or like Anubis posts on Facebook. It doesn't bother me. Yeah, but these skinny leg ones like that, like they I think scare me the most. And oh God, like this movie, I honestly, even though they get huge, they still look pretty real. And there's little ones everywhere. There's smaller than that. There's huge ones. It's like, and they're everywhere, and they're just going so quickly up in this apartment building. Everywhere they're going, there's just cobwebs, and then eventually you see people in cobwebs. And I know we're all probably going to talk about the parking garage.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. What an intense scene.
Mm-hmm.
Like Shayna, it doesn't like spiders at all. She's scared. And she was sleeping in the room, and I kept looking. I'm like, if she wakes up right now and sees this, she's going to shit herself. But I told her about it, and she's like, oh my God, I'm glad I didn't wake up. But man, what a intense, like I said, scenes and grossness. The spider like paralyzing the woman, or no, I'm sorry, that's Sting.
Yeah.
Or is it this one? What is the one with
it's got a similar scene though in this than it does Sting.
Yeah, like
Uh,
it comes out of her mouth, and then like, but they look
yeah,
at the lady because they want the lady. She's such a nice woman, like to everybody in the building, and you just see her sitting there, and her head just twitches, and then like it twitches, and it's like, oh man,
and her
yeah,
head
this movie,
explodes, and all
I
the
think,
spiders coming out of her head,
oh man,
which I
they're
found,
everywhere.
yeah.
Oh
But what I found really interesting about this is like obviously when they were getting bitten, because this is the thing, this is what I found confusing. These are meant to be everyday desert spiders that are very venomous. But obviously when it bites you and they go inside you, it like must lay eggs.
yeah,
Because everybody in the building, like there was that nice old man who was walking down the corridor and they were telling him to go back in, he's been bitten, they're
yeah,
gonna burst out of him, and it went from being very realistic, the nitty gritty, very like disturbing, shivers down your spine. But it still is true. But then it kind of did take it to another level where they added that element where when you were getting bitten, though, you were basically getting impregnated and spiders were coming in. But then it got even more surreal as the spiders got bigger and bigger to the fact that one of them was the size of a car, which
yeah.
made me think that I missed an opportunity. And it's my only negative I'm going to say is they missed the opportunity to explain why they got so rapidly large. It didn't make sense, and it kind of took away, like obviously arachnophobia. This, that you do see the spiders get bigger in
Yeah.
there, like especially the main two. When you first see the spider from, I think it's Africa somewhere, and it breeds with the house spider, which is kind of unrealistic
Oh
anyway.
yeah.
But when it happens, the African spider, I guess the queen spider, is absolutely massive and gets bigger. But then all of a sudden, the house spider, the king spider, I guess, gets rapidly larger as well. Because I always remember that scene when he's down and he kills one of the main spiders. You've got the other main spider that starts chasing him around the basement.
Yeah.
So
It's been a while since I watched that movie.
yeah,
I have it like
so
right over here.
yeah, so that for me was a bit, I could get away with that. But in this, the only negativity is they don't explain how, if they can grow that large, why isn't there a mountain full of these giant spiders in the desert?
Did
And
they
why?
say why they got so big, or maybe it's just because now they're eating people?
I don't think so. I don't think they explained it, but this is the main cast.
Yeah.
These are the ones basically trying to run around and survive this nightmare. And there's the main character, Caleb.
Best guy is on the right there, I think. I think he was
Yes.
my favorite character.
Yeah, he was. He's an amazing character. This scene was intense
Oh my god, yeah.
with the lights when
Yeah.
she's trying to get through.
Yeah, because the
Uh,
spiders are afraid of the light. So what we didn't say though is at the beginning of the corridor, they have that light switch that turns on a timer. So they're all going through. This is for people watching. And
Yeah.
they're all going through, and then she has to go through, and then the timer goes off. And it's like, oh, like where he
And
threw
then
that like bomb or like that what was
like a
that bomb?
flare or
like
something.
it's
Yeah,
more
like a flare or
like
something. It
yeah.
just went poof like that, and you just see the spiders go, like that's
Another
creepy as fuck.
another character I want to mention that I haven't got a picture of, who
Yeah.
I thought was sweet and obviously goes through hell as well, is Mrs. Zio, who was the cleaning lady.
Oh yeah.
When she goes up and she's spraying the cobwebs and then she sticks her head through the things and then you kind of guess what happens there.
Yeah.
But I just didn't want her to die as well. But obviously they have to kill so many of the individuals. But then, like you say, it's basically a battle of survival against the millions or thousands of spiders in this confined apartment building, which, was tough. And then right at the end, you got the scene, which, the spiders, like I say, are getting bigger and bigger to the point that they can even get through the doors of vans. And then right at the end, I shit myself, I shit you not, when I seen the size of this mother. Which I'm wondering if that's
I think that's
first,
the main one.
Yeah, it's the first spider that burst out of the shoebox that's now fully grown. But then
Do you
that
think he ran away because that guy was nice to him?
I don't know if it was because obviously it was stopped on its tracks because of lights, I believe, at the doorway. And then I don't know if it was because, it could hear the gunfire in the background of all the other men, and it could see flashes of light from gunfire behind or the noises. So it went to basically take on the rest of the kind of, the police or the military people that were in the back. And so he had the opportunity to open the door to get out into the light. I don't know, but
Yeah.
who knows? But like
I
I
know.
say, the only question mark I have and I found frustrating, and it's the only thing that's a negative about this, is the fact that if you can get a spider that big running around a damn, and it's naturally meant to grow that big, why weren't they there at the beginning of the movie in the Sahara Desert or whatever? Like when that thing burst out of the ground, out of that little hole, why wasn't the giant one just popping out of the sand and dragging people underneath? A bit like something out of Eight-Legged Freaks.
Well, maybe there were, but they were further under. And there's little ones crawling around while the big ones are crawling around. So maybe they just got the little ones, but the big ones were way under.
Mm-hmm.
I just think of it as these spiders, like if they're in the desert, people aren't really around them. They got a taste for human, and it just the amount of that they're eating is just making them get bigger. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think that's a real thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I hope not.
I don't think there's a real spider that big, but if there is, it can stay the fuck away from me.
Fuck yeah. I
But
think the worst thing for me about this movie was having to read the French, like, because it wasn't in dub.
Yeah, because it's in because I actually messaged Anubis. I said, "Did you watch it in dub or the subtitle?" And he said subtitle. So I don't think there is a dubbed version, but
Yeah.
I basically I could make out what was going on. But for me, I'll just be honest. I love the cinematography of this. I love the intenseness. I loved how it creeped me the fuck out. I love the characters. They were believable characters in this impossible situation that they were trying to survive. The spiders, I guess you had a mixture of real spiders with CGI. I don't think there was animatronics, but I do believe there was no. I think it was all real spiders, which is even more creepy. And I just think the director of this is definitely made a future classic when it
And it's
comes
his
to
directorial debut, you said, right?
yes,
That's
and
that's impressive.
yes, and here's something else that'll impress you, Mr. Tony the Dead, because there's going to be 2 new Evil Dead films. They're making them. They're making them next year, and there's 2 coming. They're not. I think they're going to be standalone Evil Dead movies. And the
Mhm.
director of this film, Infested, was handpicked to direct one of the movies.
Nice.
So that's a massive achievement, a massive jump. So I think Sam Raimi's the executive producer, and I think he suggested him because he must have seen Infested.
Yeah.
So, and I think if you can make a film like this that has you on the edge of your seat, creeps you the fuck out, God knows what he's capable of when it comes to the Evil Dead franchise.
I'll definitely check it out if he's going to direct it. That's for sure.
Yeah. And I believe the director of the second Evil Dead film is the director who I can't remember. He directed another horror movie.
Yeah, we talked about it like last time, and I can't remember what it was.
And he is going to be directing the next Evil Dead as well. So there's 2.
Oh, Alien Romulus, I think, right?
Yeah. Oh, Alien Romulus. Yeah. Well, no, the director of Alien Romulus directed the 2013 remake.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking. Never mind.
Yeah. So anyway, off track a bit, but Mr. DJ Anubis, what's your thought on Infested?
Definitely better than the last 2 films. Has definitely arachnophobia or eight-legged freaks vibe.
Yeah.
I do agree with you a lot where they missed a huge opportunity here because this, like movies like Kingdom of the Spiders or Tarantulas: Deadly Cargo are more my speed. I like real life approaches to spider issues. Now, obviously, the films we're dealing with, like Sting, has like an alien vibe about it, and then of course, some of the other ones have like experimental stuff going on. This, you're right, does not explain anything about why they're getting big.
Yeah.
And one thing about Spider in the Attic is, I didn't say at the time, was you've got these spiders that were engineered to grow and feed and get larger, yet for whatever reason they never leave the house. Like, and there's like this long period of time that they're there. They just, what are they eating? We don't even know. So that's another plot hole in that one. So this works in similar fashion, because at least with this film, as they expand throughout the building, they're gonna expand beyond it. That's why the police have to like lock this shit down. They know something's going on. They have to keep it there.
Yeah.
If they would have kept all the spiders like the same size, I probably would have enjoyed it more in that sense, because them being larger makes really no sense at all.
Yeah, it's like what I said with arachnophobia. Like, they made they did make the queen, I guess, and the king spider a lot bigger than they intended.
Yeah, but they were like, maybe the size of your hand. So like, they're not like so
it was
enormous.
believable. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, they made them a size that it could still be believable, that they were generally normal, everyday spiders that you would be frightened to meet if you met one. Where the fact in this, it went from being arachnophobia at the beginning to basically being ate like it freaks by film's end, which I don't have a problem with that. But like you said, my only frustration with it is there was no explanation of why they were able to grow that big. And it's like I said before, right at the beginning of the film, when they're coming out of that rock face hole, if they're generally meant to be naturally that big, surely there would have been a few around that would have killed everyone in sight. So I just think it's just a question mark that I'm a bit frustrated with, that never got answered.
And the other thing is, like, again, like at the beginning we have the desert and they're hunting these spiders. Well, it's not really treated in the same way. So when he's poking around in the hole, the spider just jumps at him. Like, that's never going to happen. It just never happens that way. It'd make more sense if like he picked up the rock and the spider was already under it and crawled up and bit him. That would make more sense.
Yeah.
Caleb, he's a guy that collects creatures. He loves animals. Big respect for him. He loves animals. But you get like a spider that is venomous, and you put it in a fucking shoebox.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit stupid. It's fucking...
I don't think his intention was to keep it in there. It was just for like a momentary thing, and then he got like sidetracked.
That's a huge, like, spiders aren't stupid. Like, they're smart enough to get out of places. Like, you have to be very careful. Like, tarantulas, in some cases, can literally take their fangs and chew at the mesh at the top of the enclosures. Because some people have said that they've managed to get out by doing that. So you have to be careful with the type of mesh that you use for your enclosures, because tarantulas are just very smart. If they don't want to be there, they'll find a way to get out.
Yeah.
But I mean, a horror movie like right next to you, like we're starting. You realize that.
That's how it's going to start, but mine's going to be real life.
You're like, Missy's going to, Neko. Right
in
the corner.
Where are my rabbits at?
Yeah.
There's a lot of woods all over the place.
Well, if I ever get the funding, I'm going to fly out to the US, and me and Anubis are going to make a fucking realistic, horrifying spider movie.
I'm gonna put Kevin as I'm gonna put all my spiders on top of him.
I will not try out for that movie.
Yeah, and if you
you're a seasoned actor, you're my star. You got to have this.
Not spiders, man.
Yeah.
CGI.
If you ever tip spiders on me, if you thought the scream that Marv gave in Home Alone was bad, you're gonna have no hearing left. The time I'm finished.
I bet. Oh my god.
Yeah, but no. Let me see. I do like this. It is very creepy, especially when Tony mentioned like the spiders that come out of your mouth. Now we see this in a lot of these films where this happens, and I'm like, dude, you realize like I don't think a spider can technically make his way down your throat with all the liquids and everything. It just I don't see it happening. But again, suspended disbelief a little bit. But if they had kept this more of on the grounded level, like without the larger spiders, I think it would have been far more terrifying because I can believe that they could be an infestation, even though that's kind of quick for these type of spiders. At least that's a little bit more believable with the size and how, like, even more out of control. Like, because larger ones, cops are like, I can see this motherfucker, but those small ones, man, they can fit anywhere. It's like, who wants to deal with that?
Even for that one though, as much as it's a giant spider, that one doesn't freak me out because it's got a small body and it's just the legs.
Yeah.
It's the legs that creep me out, I think, though.
That looks like the one I saw when I was tripping. That's the way it looks.
Oh.
Yeah, so what would you rate this, Anubis?
This would definitely be like an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, definitely. I was thinking the same, 8 out of 10. Mr. Tony of the Dead?
Yeah, I agree. 8 out of 10. Definitely, like you said, I haven't, like, it's one thing to be creeped out, but this movie, maybe my toes curl and had me like, oh God, like,
yeah,
oh, like I just like get into the moment and I picture myself, like, what would I do? And it's just like, I don't know. And they're putting their hoods up and they're just going there. It's like, oh my God.
Oh, I did want to say this. One thing about this film that was really good is it's kind of funny because it's outside of the spiders. Is the dynamic between everybody that lives in the building is great.
Yeah,
that one big asshole that kept trying to fuck with them about like you're selling drugs, you're the reason why. Like that whole dynamic was great.
I love that scene though where they had found the basically the spider sack and they fucking decided, well, you know what's in this, and they started wrapping wrapping it up in duct tape, and then he said, all right, and fuck you, if you want to see what's in my room, go. And he knew what was going to happen when he sent him into that room.
And when that's why he's like, okay, everybody get back. It's going to get ugly real fast.
I love that. And like you say, the great thing, it's similar to, obviously, I thought the relationship between the mother and the son in Itsy Bitsy, there was great chemistry there. But every actor in this did fantastic. Well, they were believable. You wanted them to survive. You wanted them to get through it. You actually believed in them. And know what I loved about this, which was, I thought was a great end shot where he's sitting after obviously everything's over and obviously they blow the building up and they bring it down to its knees to basically all the foundation, and he's overlooking
that shit.
Yeah. He's like overlooking it and he's looking at the everything, the aftermath of it, and he's just sitting like in like a forest tree area, and then you see the tiny spider crawl up him and he blows it away. It was like he had no fear anymore, spiders. And when I first seen that, I thought, oh shit, it's one of the babies that survived. It's going to bite him and it's going to start again for a sequel. But I just thought it was like a great film that had a start, a middle, and a definite ending, which was great. But yeah, so I thoroughly enjoyed that. So we're both agreed 8 all over 8 out of 10. So now let's move on to the one that I wish, if I'm honest, I got to see in theaters. It was released, and I just didn't have time to see it in theaters. But once I did see it, I was really surprised with it, and we're here to talk about Sting. So this is the final of the 4 movies that we're here to discuss. So let's look at Sting. Sting is a 2024 horror film written and directed by Kaya Roach Turner and starring Ryan Core, Aliyah Brownie, Penelope Mitchell, Robin Nevin, and Noni Hazelhurst. Silva Coella, Danny Kim, and Jermaine Fowler. The film follows a young girl who secretly raises a spider as her pet, which then transforms into a giant monster. And the one thing I'll say, I didn't realize this because when you watch this movie, and I did a little bit looking into it, it's set in New York City. It looks like New York City. You have the snowy winter vibes. It's basically like Evil Dead Rise in this tower block, but the entire film was actually filmed in Australia. And it was actually filmed in the summer of Australia. So how the hell they got the snowy effects? Well, it's obviously all camera trickery and all that.
It was quite
So,
convincing too. I was cold just watching it.
Yeah.
So how they did it, well done to the director and the creators of the movie. Another thing I will say, just like Itsy Bitsy, the majority of Sting, when you see Sting the Spider, the majority of the larger version of Sting, when he grows rapidly, is all practical effects. And the practical effects were made by Weta Workshop, which, as you know, worked on The Lord of the Rings and is Peter Jackson's production company.
Oh.
So that was another great thing I found out. Basically, it's you can imagine what goes on. You see the beginning of the movie where this spider miraculously arrives through the window of this apartment block and lands in the back of a dollhouse that belongs to the bitch of the owner, I'm assuming, the landlord of the entire building.
Yep.
It arrives in her back in her room, where she obviously is running the show. Is this that? So her there in the very back there, she is the owner of the building, and basically this thing arrives. The daughter, Charlotte, is snooping around the building. She's an explorer. She likes to board out of a box, stuck in her room all day. So she goes through the air vents and she goes in different people's apartments and looks about and snoops about. And she ended up in that particular apartment. At the exact same time this spider arrived, decides to box the fucker up and take us to her room. So obviously the film consists of the family of Ethan, Charlotte, and Heather. That's the three main family members. You then have Helga, who is a lady with dementia, who is the sister of Maria, who is the evil landlady.
Yeah.
You have
Dude, Helga was hilarious.
I loved Helga.
Like, it's funny because like you knew she was dealing with dementia and stuff, but that opening scene.
She's basically sending people to the death.
Yeah, she goes back to the farm. Like, yeah, I hear more noises. I need more people. It's almost like Return of the Living Dead type shit. Like, send more fucking pest guys.
I got Evil Dead themes with this. I did. And then you have Robert Neville, who plays I don't know who she played. She played Gunther.
Gunter,
yeah. You have Remain. I loved him, Jermaine Fowler, who plays Frank, who is who is basically the exterminator. So for those that haven't seen Sting, what we were talking about, basically, prior to seeing the spider crash through the window, there's there's a scene that takes you where you see Helga, who's got dementia, who's ringing for an exterminator because you can hear things crawling around the walls. The next thing you know, you see Frank, who goes in a room, and the next thing you know, he gets attacked by this unseen thing. The next thing you know, she goes back to the phone and she's ringing up for other exterminators to arrive to the building. Then it cuts and it says on the screen 4 or 5 days earlier. I cannot remember. So, and then you get to the point where it leads to the arrival of the spider through the window. After that point, Charlotte gives the name of the spider Sting. It's very intelligent. It communicates with us. She then starts feeding it insects, and it miraculously begins to grow. After it begins to grow, eventually it escapes from its confinement and starts going around the building, unsuspecting to Charlotte, killing pets, and then eventually making its way to the residents of the apartment building to the point it grows to an enormous size. So that's the basic plot. So, Mr. Anubis, we'll start with you. Overall thoughts and opinions on Sting.
I actually really like this. I wasn't sure how I'd feel about it because it has similarities to some of the other movies we've seen in presentation, and then again we're in like the little girl's room. We're dealing with that again. But again, what's good about this as opposed to Infested is this gives you an explanation of what we're actually dealing with. This isn't your normal spider. We know this. I enjoyed the fact that she can literally call to it and it would mimic what she's doing. And they can kind of like communication. And of course, the girl there is also plays young Furiosa for those that don't know, and the new Furiosa.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, that's what immediately got me interested to see this because I had seen Furiosa in theaters, and this had been out either before. I think it'd been out in America and Australia, and this came out a bit later in the UK. And I'd seen Furiosa first, and when I seen the name of the actress, I thought, I'm sure she's in Furiosa. And when I looked, I thought, yeah, it's got me interested even more, piqued to see this.
Mm-hmm. I hated that fucking mother, dude. I hate that mother. There's a scene that just really bothers the shit out of me. The little girl's mother.
Oh.
So basically, the father is a stepfather, and he's trying to fill in. He's trying to connect with Charlotte, while Charlotte, of course, still loves her biological dad. But there's just a scene where when Charlotte's like, whining that her real father's not there, and that Ethan shouldn't really try to be like close to her or whatever, and he's like, yeah, your father just isn't going to be here. He doesn't want to be. He's like 6 miles away or something and doesn't even come and visit, which wasn't something she was supposed to know because the mother didn't bother to tell her this. The mother told her that the biological father was out traveling or something weird. And it's kind of like the mother to me just left the step guy out, holding the bag, and not threw him under the bus every time something didn't work out. It just kind of pissed me off. So the one moment where Sting actually attacks the mother, I'm thinking, yes, she's gone. And of course, it doesn't balance. But that's one of the sad moments of this. Is just they didn't get rid of her. Too bad. But,
I thought that scene was great because Charlotte's obviously looking after her baby brother, and she's got a headphone. And when you see it was seeing the moment where the mother is obviously attacked, and then the dad tries to stop the Sting, the spider, and then I was on the edge of my seat because I was seeing, because I love the dynamic, not the real mother, but the stepfather and Charlotte. I love that relationship more than the mother's.
Yes.
And because, like you said, all of these films have a similar vibe of, a family dynamic. And obviously, you had it in Itsy Bitsy. You have like the friendship group in Infested that are bonding together to survive this. Now, in this, it's about a stepfather who doesn't feel good enough. Who, he's got this job as the maintenance man in this apartment block with, the evil landlord who's a complete bitch. Who I love the fact she got her end as well.
Who's also his relation.
Yeah, because they're all related. Yeah. So
the thing is about this film that is only kind of the weakness for me is the character development, because you had a guy like Eric, played by Danny Kim, who's like this neighbor that likes to study creatures and stuff like that. Charlotte brings Sting over to him and shows him that this isn't your normal spider because he's so used to regular spiders. And I would have liked to see him kind of like try to study Sting a little more. But instead, we kind of got this thing where he's like, we're just going to see how much you can grow. And I'm like, are you a fucking idiot?
I was going to say, I looked at that and I thought, well, this guy's at university. He's clearly the dumbest fucking student.
Yeah.
You're studying animals. You've got your apartment just full of different reptiles and rabbits and shit.
I'm like, here you have a creature that no one's ever seen. And your idea is to make it grow as big as possible without even knowing anything about it.
And it's not like a fluffy little bunny rabbit or a dog that you're trying to grow. It's a fucking killer spider.
I don't understand like how he went from one scene saying like, you seriously need to report this, and get rid of it. And then the next scene, he's feeding it rabbits and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, how did he go from Jekyll to Hyde? You know, like,
That's my problem. Is like we never really get an explanation as to what his motive is. Like he has to know. A guy that studies creatures has to know that a spider, which is a predator, even if you don't even know if it's an alien or not, like no one really knows at that point. But you're just starting to feed something that you know is growing too fast as it is a bad idea. And this one, like Sting, we didn't talk about. Even at a small size, is smart enough to unscrew a cap to get out of the fucking container it's in. So
because it's not a normal earthling spider.
Right.
Yeah, the reason it came and that got in that, which I thought that beginning was cool because it makes it look like it's a big meteor coming down to Earth, and then it's just this little poof in that Sting.
Well, what I loved about the start, it's simplistic. Explain how the spider got there, bang, straight away. Bang, you see it land, it lands through the window, lands in this dollhouse, it hatches, and you know all hell is going to break loose. It's so simplistic, where you're left with a question mark infested of why the spiders are grown. It's frustrating. When it comes to Spider in the Attic, that has a great explanation why the spiders are there and why they do what they do, but nothing really happens. There's just no payoff by film's end. Itsy Bitsy, very similar. You know where the spider comes from. It has a definitive ending where the spider meet up, but it also has the exact same ending to Sting, which we'll get to. But I love the diner, and I love how it's like a cat and mouse relationship now, right at the end between Charlotte and Sting, and the dynamic with the father and her, and when Sting has fully grown. And you have that amazing scene where they're all stuck in the back of the trash compactor. The annoying mother, of course, the baby, the stepfather who feels like he's letting everyone down, who's now basically gets this whole thing, give him a kick in the arse. You're right, I've got to step me shit up. If I really am going to be in this for the long haul, in this relationship, to be a stepfather to these kids, I need to step my game up, and he really comes through at the end. And the great thing I loved about the end, so obviously Sting, the trick it to go into the trash compactor, which it meets its end and gets killed. The whole spider Sting as it's going through is an animatronic. Because I seen like a clip of the makings, and they showed you the scene of this pole. I don't know if that's the pole at the back. In the back or wires, and you can actually see the actors acting in this scene, and you can see the animatronic walking towards him, which I thought was brilliant. So another film that used practical effects, and when they did use CGI, I thought they used the CGI well in this. Like for me, it was well used. It wasn't just all CGI and all over the place. They tried the best to make it blend in with the dark colours and the backgrounds. So for me, this is the best of the four that we've seen.
Agreed.
And I love, and it's because of the setting in this dingy, dark apartment building. The characters, you had ones you loved, ones you hated. The dynamic between the stepfather, the daughter, and the overall cat and mouse trying to outsmart this giant friggin' spider in this building. And this had, for me, one of the best scenes out of all of the four films I've seen. I understand that we've all talked about this particular death in Infested, but you only seen part of it, and it was quite dark and dingy. But this death was amazing.
That's the one I was thinking of when I was mixing them up.
So when Sting goes into this woman who's grieving, who's like over a lost relationship or something, and
her family, I think her family got killed or something.
Yeah.
So and she was
drinking a lot, so
she's become basically an alcoholic. When Sting comes, and it's that amazing scene where he goes down her throat and you see the slit in her chest and comes out of her chest. I just thought that for me made the film even more. But if I'm gonna rate Sting, I'm going to give this a high rating. I think it deserves a slightly higher rating than Infested, and I'm going to give it 9 out of 10. Just because it was a lovely surprise. It was a film I was trying to see in the theatres, but unfortunately, I just didn't get the time to see it. And then I finally got to see it on streaming. It was well worth the watch. So, Mr. Tony of the Dead, what would you rate Sting? And final thoughts?
Well, I'd say we should all watch out. Not watch out like in a bad way, but like this young girl. She's a hell of an actress. I think she's going to be in a lot of good things. So
yeah, well, she already has. She went from this to Furiosa.
Yeah, and I didn't know that. Like when you said that, I could see it. Then I was like, oh wow. But
yeah, there are some young actresses out there that are starting to press like this girl here.
Right.
And then the girl from Abigail, I thought was really good. Daphne Keane from Logan, amazing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So,
yeah, there's some good talented young actors and actresses out there, but she's definitely one to look for. I did like because we didn't say about the whole thing was like her father, how we did say how she thinks he's over doing something else in like I don't know Indonesia or something like that, but he's been back for 6 months and blah blah. There's that scene, but there's also a little bit of a conflict between the families because Liam is actually her half brother, and it's like they think he favors Liam over her, and
yeah,
you know, and it kind of does in the beginning, and then you see that this movie also had like it had a goofiness to it, like a not a comedy, but like it was like a little loose, so that was good. When you see her like waiting, and you see this Sting drop down to buy the baby, it's like, oh my no, and then like it takes the baby, and he's like, it's not gonna kill the kid, but like that whole one thing I thought was I think Sting got killed a little. I know it wasn't easy, but like I think I would have rather it better than Crunch.
Yeah, well, they left it open for a sequel because the ending of
eggs. We got eggs. We have eggs.
We got eggs.
Did anybody like when they were showing Sting's face and it was dying? Did anybody feel a little bit bad?
Yes.
Me too.
You can actually hear Sting actually cry out to her in a baby voice, no less. He was mimicking a baby and trying to call to Charlotte as if like, why you do this to me? you know?
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I enjoyed it.
But you have to wonder at that point, is it just doing that to try to trick her, or because it's almost like this creature. A part of me wants to say I think the creature really was friendly with her because they were friends.
Yeah.
But because it is a predator, it has no choice but to follow its own instincts.
Yeah.
So,
the larger it got, the more it craved.
I agree. Yeah.
So then eventually, obviously, when you go
ironically, that death scene was actually taken from a episode of Monsters where they dealt with a giant spider getting crushed by an elevator.
Oh, is that the episode where it's like a hotel and they're going to the hotel room? And
the married couple, yep.
Yeah, and
I have to watch that show.
She ends up hiding underneath the bed when the husband gets eaten.
Yeah, because the bed is like a web, and so it looks like rope, and that's probably what it is in real life. But they come in there, and the husband's like, "Oh, this is weird," but then he like falls back on it, then he can't move, and she's like kind of like looking around, like she kind of understands that this is like bizarre.
Yeah.
And so they're trying to call out to the guy that sold them the vacation hotel, and they can't get a hold of them. So they have this big ass elevator shaft behind them where it has closed doors, but you can hear the elevator coming down, and that's, of course, you get exposed to this big ass spider. It looks a lot like Sting. And so he dies, but then she has to kind of find a way to outsmart the spider, which is kind of cool.
Because it also comes down from the elevator, if I remember in the episode. It comes through the elevator doors.
Yeah, actually, a body that's already in a cocoon falls first, and it comes up and it's picking it back up.
I have to watch that show.
Yeah, I remember that. Because
Because it was always that or Tales from the Dark Side. Those are two great.
Well, Monsters, I believe, was a spin-off from Tales of the Dark Side, but obviously it's a show that all the episodes is about a different monster, either a protagonist or an antagonist.
Yeah.
Because you've mentioned that, as soon as you mentioned that, I knew it straight away because it's one of the better episodes of the show.
Agreed.
And I've never seen that show for years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know I've seen it like back, but I don't remember really anything. I remember the intro, and that's about it.
Yeah, with the monster family watching TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the show comes on. What do you want to watch? Oh, let's watch monsters.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought this was clever too with the mothballs. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Because being that this was actually an alien spider, the webbing was like you couldn't touch it, like it got burned a little bit. So like the mothball, like she ground it up and
they kind of went
and
almost
stuff.
like
Pretty cool.
Lost Boys there a little bit with that.
Yeah. I like that idea. And then Helga says, "The big dog, he come in every time I try to pet it, it runs away." And it's like she smells. It's like, oh, it's because of the mothballs. That was pretty funny. But like, yeah, I enjoyed the movie. I like
the only negative as well.
We were say, but there was a comic book that I guess her and her father started, and now this guy just apparently can draw too. I don't remember how that concept came about, but anyway, I like
because she's stuck in this snowy apartment. There's nothing much to do, so she's basically just doodling and drawing. And obviously, once she finds Sting, she's writing or drawing her own makeshift comic books, and then she'll obviously create it with the spider. And I think his inspiration, his chosen career is, I think he wants to be a comic book writer or artist, because he gets a phone call, I believe, and through the plot where they basically say to him that aren't going to go with your ideas, and he kind of goes in a little bit of a rage, a bit of a breakdown, because he basically hasn't been hired, or his idea for this comic book or story hasn't went ahead. And at the same time as he's probably trying to be a comic book writer, she's drawn. She's like, in one of her drawings is her and Sting sitting on the back of Sting.
Yeah.
And, the only other negative is, once again, they killed the fucking cat. Yeah. Why is it always a cat? There's always a cat that poorly pussies have to die in these films.
That poor parrot, though, too. My God.
Yes, the parrot.
The parrot. I thought the chihuahuas was gonna take it. Like, oh my God. But all in all, in the end, I think because I was more creeped out with Infested, and I gave that 8. I enjoyed this one as well, and I enjoyed that it was more fun. I would say it's an 8.5.
Yes.
So they're very close, but
like, this is what I miss about Hollywood creativity. Like, it's such a simple plot.
Yeah.
And it's so, it's nothing like extremely amazing, but it's just a simple horror comedy with a decent idea of having a big ass giant spider killing people in an apartment block.
That is another movie, by the way, Big Ass Giant Spider.
Yes, it is. But
it's pretty good.
And you've got Hollywood that can't, get anything off the ground.
You know what's funny? I just thought about this. So I don't remember, because I was kind of just looking it up. Eight-Legged Freaks was inspired by a short film called Larger Than Life. But there was another one that was kind of another short film that was in color, dealing with similar things that you saw in Eight-Legged Freaks. And so one of the things that happened in this short film was this person's cat got into the ventilation systems because it was chasing whatever was scurrying around in the house. And so, like, the next thing you hear is, like, a lot of fighting. So, like, there's, like, these holes that get punched in the wall because the cat's fighting against whatever's in there.
Yeah.
And you hear the cat's like, and then, like, whatever else is in there with it. And then, of course, the cat ends up dying. And so this woman's, like, calling out to her cat or whatever, because that's when you're witnessing a giant spider coming out of the hole in the wall.
Yeah.
But it just got me funny, because it seems to be a common theme every time we see these spider movies, that a cat gets locked into the ventilation shaft with some spider or something.
Yeah, it was like plastered, so you could see the imprints
Yep.
of the cat, like up against
Right.
the wall.
Exactly.
It's kind of like a Looney Tunes kind of moment.
Yes.
What you described there, though, reminds me of the scene in the Christmas horror movie by Michael Dougherty, Krampus, where they've got the British Bulldog pet, and obviously it goes up into the hole, and you can hear the dog fighting this giant jester clown monster thing, and you
Yeah.
can hear them inside the holes banging off the wall. Then suddenly the dog stops because it's been chewed up by the jester thing.
That's actually
So
a good movie. Underrated.
Yeah,
it's underrated, and I wish they would do a sequel because it
that
ends on.
ending's like a oh shit.
Well,
Mhm.
You know?
they could actually make many sequels where they're not actually linked. They could make it like an anthology thing where Krampus goes after different families every Christmas.
Well, yeah. I was gonna say there is a Christmas horror.
I'm trying to remember. Didn't
Whatever
Krampus
it's called.
end kind of like Cemetery Man with the snow globe?
Yeah,
Yes,
Yeah.
because he wishes to save the family, and I guess Krampus he thinks he's had his wish granted where they're all alive again and they're all together again. But then they look out the window, and I guess it's just completely dark. And then you see like a look on the face, and as it zooms out, it's the Krampus holding the snow globe, and he puts it on a shelf.
yeah,
And when he puts it on the shelf, there's thousands of snow globes. So all snow globe must be full of different souls and different families,
yeah.
which like a fucked up BFG.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, it was a good
Well,
ending. That was a good
anyway,
movie.
yeah.
Now that
so,
movie made me feel cold.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you enjoyed this as well, Anubis. So
Oh yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So with all that said, it's been fun looking down at these creature features and these spider movies. Mr. DJ Anubis, what is coming up on the Metal Tavern Radio?
Nothing this week. As far as like Friday, I think Neko and I are going to be just doing more painting down here to get done with this before trying to sell the house, and then
Mhm.
Saturday we'll be out of town for a day or so. But later today on Mr. Tony the Dead's channel, we were doing another Ghouls of Midnight episode for D. Snyder's Strangeland, which is my pick this week.
Cool.
And we'll have Krypton Metal and Mania guesting with us.
Mhm.
Tomorrow at, I think it's 4 p.m., maybe 6, I can't remember, Sci-Fi Century and myself and Anthony Jordan will be talking about the Castlevania game series. So we'll be just discussing that a little bit. And outside of that, not a whole lot, nothing. Although I do know that Samurai is releasing our video I did with him for Dr. Giggles.
Dr. Giggles, I think that's coming Thursday.
Yeah.
Mr. Tony the Dead, anything else other than the stream today with Mr. DJ Anubis?
At 5 o'clock, I think, my time, I have my Arrow video pickup video going live.
Oh, cool.
And of course, what Anubis said, we're going to be recording in an hour or so with D. Snyder. Crypt. Because I kind of think he kind of looks like him in a way. So when he said Strange, I was like, we should get Crypt on. And we're gonna get you on one. We could talk after this. But
cool.
Yeah, we want to bring guests in and stuff. So he's our first guest.
All right.
Yeah, nothing. I don't know. I have ideas planned, but nothing concrete. But yeah,
it might be hard for us to do it this month because I literally am fitting all of my streams in that out around my work schedule because I'm doing a month of night shifts. And I've basically filled all my days off with streams or events or things I'm doing with friends. But yeah, I would love to be a guest on your channel, Tony, anytime. Yes, I look forward to that. As for me in the entertainment headquarters, we do have, alongside obviously this video being released, I've got a mystery unboxing video because I received something in the mail that I did not order. And I opened it and it was a pleasure to the eyes. So that mystery unboxing video will be going up at some point today on the channel. Also, Sunday the 8th of September, I will be doing a movie review with Omniblast, a friend of mine, and DJ Anubis, and we will be looking at Long Legs, the new Nicolas Cage serial killer movie. And of course, throughout the month, there'll be a mixture of kaiju content. We've got the Gappa review coming up. We've got the next Into the Darkness franchise discussion coming up, which will be Warlock. And of course, lots more heading towards October and Halloween time. But as always, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure having you on the channel.
Hold on one quick second. I want to show something if I can find it real quick.
Okie dokie.
Just because people would be interested a little bit if I can find it now, because I just saw it, but right? Can never find anything when you want to find it.
No. Yeah, I actually never saw any of these movies, so this is the first time watching all of them.
I'd seen Itsy Bitsy, and that's it. I mean, I saw Infested when it first got released, so I mean, I did see that when it first came out.
I had only seen Infested. That was the only one I'd seen building up to this, so it was, you know, a mixed experience watching them all for the first time.
I can't find it, so
anyway, we'll keep that mystery for a next time, whatever it was DJ Anubis was about to show. But anyway, like I say, please subscribe to the Metal Tavern Radio, to Mr. DJ Anubis. He has some great, amazing content. If you're into heavy metal music, that's the channel to go to, especially when he does his top 5 of the week.
That's coming out today too, so be watching for that.
There you go. More amazing content. He does amazing movie reviews and other great gaming content. And if you want to know about horror, and if you want to especially know about some of these, you know, subscription horror boxes you can buy, tune into Mr. Tony the Dead's channel, because he subscribes to a number of these and he does a lot of the unboxing videos on his channel.
Here we go. Okay, so Tony knows this girl. Her name's Angel. She's an actress, but she took this photo the other day while filming one of her latest films. She's holding a chocolate tarantula. Now that's big.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, no.
See, that would freak me the fuck out if I seen that on a wall.
See, that's a little too big for me.
That's what she said.
No, she did not.
Well, with all that said, it's been a pleasure, gentlemen. So, like I say, subscribe to Mr. Tony the Dead. Subscribe to Mr. DJ Anubis. If you've liked the video, please like, share, and subscribe to the Entertainment Headquarters. And we'll catch us all at the next one.